Hello everyone, my name is George Williams Sozi, and welcome to my presentation on the process that I'm looking at improving under Kaizen process improvement, drying mushroom in an oven, process change improvement, a presentation by Sozi George Williams, under quality management. That's my first slide. So my second slide, which speaks of step one, before changes were made, the process took about 5 hours to get the mushrooms dried. So before the process of dehydrating mushrooms in an oven, I used to dry mushrooms in under direct sunlight, and direct sunlight is not that efficient. It takes much more time to get ready, and it's more laborious because it needs much energy and much more supervision. It can take an entire day when you're looking at drying the mushrooms, and when it rains, that's a different disaster. It will even take like 2 days to get the mushrooms dried up. Yeah, and that's why I came up with changing the process from drying mushrooms under direct sunlight to drying. So under my slide 2, which speaks of the changes that I would take to improve the changes that I would make to improve my processes are drying the mushrooms using an oven, yeah. And this process of using an oven in the picture, as you see it there, it doesn't as you see it there, it doesn't take much more time. It takes very limited time. It's less laborious. It doesn't require much supervision, and it's more efficient and more efficient. If I'm to say, let's go to slide 3. So slide 3, which speaks of step 3. Steps 3, which changes with changes in place. The hydrated mushroom in an oven took about 30 minutes to get all the mushrooms dried up. I've spoken about this in the previous slide. Drying mushrooms in an oven, it's more efficient. It takes very limited time and it doesn't need much supervision. What you need is to set to time the oven to like 30 minutes, and when 30 minutes come up, the oven will blip. The oven will make sound that will alert you that the mushrooms are ready and they're already dried up. So this is a more efficient process. It takes very limited time. It's less laborious, and yeah, it saves time in simply. The very last slide speaks of the benefits of dehydrated mushrooms in an oven. The benefits or the merits of dehydrating mushrooms in an oven. First of all, drying mushrooms in an oven intensifies their flavor and improves the texture of the mushrooms. It improves the texture of the mushrooms, reason being, when the mushrooms are dried up in an oven, they're a little bit crunchy. Like you can eat, they're a little bit crunchy that you can even squeeze them between your thumb and your finger and your pointing finger, and then you get it squeezed into powder, which is the process I'm trying to improve or working on my project of mushroom flour food supplement. Second of all, it saves time, as I've mentioned earlier in my other slides. Drying mushrooms or dehydrating mushrooms in an oven saves time. You time the oven for 30 minutes away from the previous process that requires you to dry the mushrooms for 5 hours and more. Here under drying the mushrooms in an oven, it takes 30 minutes to get it dried up and ready to be pounded into powder, which is a very significant way of drying mushrooms and get them ready to be pounded into powder, and ready for sale. So dried mushrooms tend to be very brittle, So it takes almost no effort to crush them into powder. I've spoken this again and again. It's very brutal, self-explanatory. You don't need to. You don't have to do much more when the mushrooms are dried up. You just need to get them on your under your under your blender, and then you crush them into powder because they're already dried up, and the oven and the oven sucks all the moisture out of the mushroom. Then the sunlight is not much effective, though it's a very natural way of doing it. Last but not least, it saves a lot of money. Under business, everyone looks at saving the money. Saving money. We don't want to invest something that will take a lot of money away from us. We need something that will save the money. Yeah. So drying dehydrated mushrooms in an oven saves money, as you know, and because you don't need to pay the workers to be lifting mushrooms every morning 100